pull this thing up, and then you have to like pull the bullet out of the barrel like this. So it's pretty kind of old gun, you know. And I think I'm just gonna go through all the parts and show you a little bit how I model them, but wasn't too tricky to make them, you know. So the barrel, easy, just a cylinder. This part was just a plane, which I bent. Then here some extrusion, pretty easy. Then we got the body. Also this one, just place the ref in the back, followed with a plane extrusion modeling, easy. Followed with this curve, some chamfers here, pretty basic stuff in the end. I also decided to make a little bit of interior in this one, which is not required usually, you know, on a game model, but I don't know. I decided to do this. Also, I modeled some springs of the internal mechanism, but you know, definitely not something I think you would do in a game model. So keep that in mind. You got any question, guys?
Is that bullet layout is the true layout of the gun? Because that looks messy. It was the same on the references as well.
Which layout, sorry?
The laying out of the bullets. Oh, no, it's different. Okay.
Yeah, I found actually it's not a magazine. It's just like a place where you put your bullets because you have to fed them like manually one by one.
Oh, it's just a storage then.
Yeah, exactly. It works like one by one. You have to pull out the bullet, then press in another one, shoot. It's like I think from World War II, and it's yeah, one shot. Super weird gun. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
This video, if you like type FP45 Liberator, it pops out this YouTube video which shows really nicely the mechanism. Actually, let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah. Nice. But yeah, it's pretty easy, like one shotgun. So like this. Pull out the shot bullet, pull it in, you close, and then you shot. So yeah. Oh, actually, I just noticed that it should be maybe a bit more thick. I made only one, how it's called, like one line of bullets. Maybe I should make two, but I guess that's fine. Like this. Well, anyway. Yeah, something like this. I think it's more accurate. Well, you guys have other questions? I guess not. So then under here there are some small hooks which keep this plate like in place. So you pull this thing out, take the bullet and place it in. Then I call this piece chamber, but I don't think it's real like a chamber. It should be kind of attached to the barrel, but it was easy to model as a separate piece. I was saying before, I should have spent more time on this piece, which is a little bit complex, but didn't have time in the last 2 days. So the weird thing about this one is that it's like different on every gun. Like here, it's like this. You go on to other one, it's different. Here too. So I went like with a mix of various ones, and it's pretty much just a cylinder extruded like this. I made a chamfer here, and then just follow a bit this flow. So pretty easy also this one. It's a bit messy, but I think it will work out. Then there is the hammer. This one pretty easy. Started with a cylinder, this one right here. Extruded, then another extrusion and make it like look more square, because that's how it looks if you look at the references, like here. here. And then, yes, as I told you before, I did some internal work, which, again, if it's a game model, you probably don't do all this stuff. Actually, you don't. Also, these holes, you probably just put a floater and fake some ambient occlusion in there instead of actual geometry holes. But I wanted to try and make it like this, so I went for it. And this one is like simply the cylinder which rotates and also functions as a spring in there because it's attached to the hammer. When it brings back this spring keeps it in place. Then another cylinder here. There is also this spring which makes keep in place this piece so that when it goes up it also comes down with the spring. And then there is this pin, super easy, just a cylinder, which makes the hammer remain in place, because if there is not this pin, the hammer would just rotate like this, and the gun wouldn't work, you know? Then, yeah, there is display, like, which function as rear sight, and also this one is super easy, just polygon modeling. Here I used some booleans, because here there is the hole for the pin that shoots the bullets, and here there is this hole because when you pull this thing up from here, the bullets gets pulled out. Yeah, that's pretty much it also for this piece. Then there are these little two things which I'm not sure what they are, but are present pretty much in all the models, like these little pins. Super easy, just a box. Then there are these two things, which are not really cylinders. They are also super deformated, so I think we're gonna sculpt in some details later, which just hold this plate in place pretty much. They're not perfect, but doesn't matter as you don't really see through the body. Then there is the spring, super easy. Just a spline and extrude it. Trigger, also pretty easy. Started with a box and some polygon modeling. Pretty easy also this one. And finally, there is this piece, which is kind of internally of the trigger, which I think it's like gives it the direction, I think. Again, if you look at the references, you can see it's right here. And it's pretty much it for all the parts. Do you have any questions? Hello?
Something from me, not a question, but those small things you said that you don't know what they are. Maybe they can be small hinges that holds the body together, because I don't
Yeah.
see a screw or something like that.
Yeah, could be. There are all these, let me find a better image. There are these kind of balls which are not symmetrical. I don't know. I think they're called rivets or something. These, I'm pretty sure, hold in place the gun, but could be also these little pins, probably could be. Yeah. Other than that, yeah, I could have spent a bit more time on this, because as you can see from the top, this body should fit a bit better with the cylinder. I noticed pretty much at the end, so I didn't go back and fix everything because I didn't have time. But the rest is pretty much like this. The barrel, I decided to like weld it, and then maybe in ZBrush we can sculpt some welds in here, even though in most models it's kind of a separate part. Let me find an image. Here you can kind of see, should be a separate part. The only one that seems like welded is this one, which I'm not sure if it's like dirt and oil. or a kind of a weld, but I think it's gonna look cooler, so we're gonna go with that. And other than that, I think we could go with the low poly and high poly. Guys, if you have any questions, just ask. Right. Hello?
Yeah, we are here.
All muted, because I see that.
Yeah.
So, usually I create this kind of mid poly, which then I duplicate and put in the low poly layer. Just make a copy, put it in. We're gonna already rename everything. So it's already set up later for baking, just like this. So for the low poly, I don't think there's much to do, just a little bit of optimization, but as you can see, it's already pretty much a low poly. So we're gonna collapse the symmetry, remove this central seam, which we don't need. Just be careful of not deleting segments of the cylinder. And this one is pretty much done. Oh yeah, one thing. This is like the part I want to make welds on. I also put this segment here, so that it has like a kind of a curvature here, so that the normal map should hold up quite better the weld later. That's something I usually do, and usually looks better. So for the body is a bit of a pain because it's not symmetrical. So because there are these details here, which are not on this other side. So this one is gonna be a bit of a pain. Well, for optimization, I think we're just gonna target weld some vertices like this. Oh yeah, one thing of the low poly, keep in mind of not having like these super long and thin triangles, because those usually bake really bad. Like all these vertices, we don't need them. Oh yeah, one thing I didn't say actually is that the part of the body is actually using weighted normals. I don't know if you guys know about weighted normals. Do you? Hello? Guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Do you know what weighted normals are?
Yeah.
So I use those also on the body. It would look like this with standard smoothing. So I'm just gonna apply that symmetry so it broke the normals so we can work on these. And then I'm gonna reapply the weighted normals at the end when we're done with that. So it doesn't always break the shading in that weird way, like black polygons and weird stuff just going on. Yeah, as you can see, it's not perfect because I just applied a shell modifier. I don't know how it's called in Maya and Blender. So the thickness is a little bit weird, as you can see. Didn't have too much time again, so that's why. I think we can go without this, maybe? Or no? If you see something wrong or anything, just say.
There was a long triangle on the other side of the weapon. Like you
Oh,
said, you shouldn't have one. Yeah, that one. Right next to the
what?
circle. A bit to the left, yeah.
This one, you mean?
Yeah.
I think this one should work.
Okay
Like,
then.
Yeah, I think this one shouldn't be a problem. If then when we're making the weapon, we can always go back and fix it. But like if it was something, let's say, I don't know, maybe from here to here, this one would be a problem, like this.
Okay, I also have a question.
Yeah, sure.
What's your technique to open those holes for scripts?
This
Like how?
one?
Yeah.
Oh, just booleans. Yeah, I
Just
just created a cylinder and boolean that, and then a little bit of cleanup. But I think if we made this weapon for games, like really optimized, I don't think I would have made it in geometry, because if you look at them, they're pretty much all black. So I think I should have made like a floater in the high poly, and then in Painter just painting a layer with the black color and roughness to 1. I think it would have been the best way. Also because most of the time probably you get your thumb on that, I think. So you couldn't really see that much. But I wanted to go with a bit more of a realistic look in this one, with more mechanical parts in there. So that's pretty much why. Other than that, I think we're gonna skip a little bit the internal part, like all these sides in the interior, because we're never gonna see them, so we can leave them like that. Oh, yeah, cool trick to do on this kind of inset cylinders is usually just do a selection like this and collapse the segments, because you're never gonna notice the difference, and it reduces the poly count quite a bit. Same for this one. And this one. Then I think for this part we could be done for the low poly. Let's just reapply the weighted normals. For 3dsMax I got this external script which works super well. I think in other programs it's already comes with a program, but yeah, the weighted normals looks a lot better. Then these ones, I think they're already good like this. Maybe we can delete this polygon because it's gonna be always hidden. Yeah. Then next one. This plate, I don't know why I did this hinge set, but we can delete all these edges around here. And we need to do some connections so the mesh won't break when exporting it. Something like this. And probably we could add some more edges, as it looks quite squared around here. Yeah. Here I'm using an edge constraint. I don't know if there is also in other programs. I believe so. So that when I scale them, they should follow the edge, like this. So I can chamfer them a little bit. Something like this. Same thing on the other side. All right. And I would say we're also done for this part. Yeah. Then this one, this is the worst part I think I've made again. It's not super good, but I think it will work. So what we can optimize, I think, is all this stuff here, because as you can see, it's pretty much flat, so we don't need all these edges. But
Can I ask something?
Yeah, sure.
You have some n-gons around the model. Does that cause you any problem in the future? In the
So
texturing?
this one we can fix it, but usually angons aren't a problem on the low poly. Like here, I got a huge angon. Like this, it will have like 12 edges. And it's not a problem as long as it doesn't create like super weird shading. But if you like create a text in 3D, I don't even remember where are text in 3dsMax, honestly. Well, if you create a text, then you should do some connections to reduce the angons. You don't want to have it all quads, but definitely don't leave the text like it's created, because when you export it, it kind of messes it up. Like the export settings don't know how to triangulate pretty much the model, so it messes it up. But when you got something like this, it's no problem at all. Also something like this, or let's see, something like this. You know, all those types of angons are no problem, really. Then we're at this one. So first, let me bridge all this part. So I was saying that we got a ton of edges here, but this part is flat, so we don't need them. So but we have to make sure we don't delete the parts on the cylinder. So by the way, let me know if you can see when I move a bit faster, because I think the live stream will start to bug a little bit. So let me know about that.
Actually, it's looking good. No problem.
Okay, cool. So like this, I think here it starts to mess up a little bit, these kind of angles. So it's better to like collapse some of this. Probably do some connections. And then this shading should be fixed later by the high poly. Do something like this. By the way, if you have other questions, like also not related to this model, feel free to ask. And other than that, oh yeah, I got also this part here, which we can always edge constraint. We push it towards this edge, and then we just weld the vertices in there. Same thing here. And I think all these edges in the interior, we can delete them. Yeah. As the interior pretty much will never be seen. Yeah. And I think also this part is good to go. Then the hammer. I think we can collapse this one. These ones too. And this one here. Yeah. And again, just weld the vertices. And I think this part is super dense for how small it is. So no, what's going on? Something weird's happening. But what we want to do is just select one edge and the other not, so we can just collapse them. And I think same thing on here. Something like this, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, like this should work, I think. Like this end-on, I think it won't cause problems, but we can just do a couple of connections to make sure. Same here, something like this. And we're good. And other than that, I think we can move on to the next piece. This one. Yeah, I made a kind of a fake spring in here, which I don't know, maybe we could just bake down. Yeah, I think so. We could just probably delete this stuff. And just connect these two parts. And also this piece is done. This one, just a cylinder. I think it's super small, so we can just get rid of half of the edges. This one, I think, like this should work. Maybe we can half the edges on this front part. Or actually, let's leave it like this so we have better shading. And it will also be always in the front view, so better to leave it like this. Then this part right here, there is not much to do. We just have all these edges left over from the symmetry. So pretty easy to optimize like this. Bam, done. Easy. Yeah. As you can see on this one, I gave it quite a few more edges than other parts because it will be always in the front view. And actually, look at it right now. We could add a couple more segments to these parts and this one because it would be always seen like this. So it would be good to add a couple more segments there. So I use Flow Connect. I don't know how it's called in other programs. So if you guys know, let the others know about Maya and Blender, because I think you guys use only those, right?
Yeah, I think Blender doesn't have actually.
A tool like this, because it's super helpful. Like when you want to add a couple more edges, you just select the ring like this, Flow Connect, and here doesn't work. Yeah, it works when it's between two. Like this, that's the perfect flow, so it's super good.
Well, if you subdivide those flow edges together, they will connect as one edge in Blender. That's how you do it.
So like 2 rings like this, you mean?
Yeah, select them and subdivide them, and they will have an edge right on the middle of them.
I'm not sure what you mean. Like they would connect like this, like in here.
No, can you select 2 edge loops?
Yeah, like this.
One more. For example, if you subdivide these together, they will have vertical lines between them.
You mean like chamfering, like this?
No, never mind. I can show you some other time.
Okay, easy. Sorry for not understanding that.
No, it's probably because of me.
And I think also a couple more edges in here. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's super boring actually to optimize a low poly, honestly. All right, for this one, we are done. So this one is good. This one too. This one's, I deleted already the internal faces, so it's good. This one also deleted, so it's good. The spring, I mean, we could also go without spring as it would probably never be seen, but I'll keep it in there. Trigger, I think it's pretty good. We're just gonna maybe add one more edge in here. And maybe also here, yeah. And then let's just collapse the symmetry. So we remove this one. And for this one, we can collapse some of these like this. And for the low poly, I think we're done. It's 10K, which is pretty high. I think the internal parts give it quite a boost. Like only the spring is 2K, but that's fine. Also, just making all the internal parts in here adds up quite a bit to that poly count, but that's fine. So I think for the low poly, we're done. So I would say we can move on to the high poly, which will be the most work here. So we take again the mid poly I created, new layer, duplicate all this stuff. I usually already rename all this, so it's ready for baking. Like this. So for my high poly, usually I use 3 techniques, which are just chamfering the edge with a modifier, then applying turbo smooth, then is just using the classical sub-D tools and super edges. That's a bit the most painful because you have to spend quite some time on it. And I hope I don't have to do it tonight because it's quite time consuming. And the third one is just taking the model and throwing into ZBrush and using the polish workflow, which is really nice, but it has its own limitations. I think we're gonna have a look into it later. So first piece is this one, which I think we're gonna use the chamfer and turbo smooth. So if someone will use 3dsMax, I always use Quad Chamfer, which is a paid plugin, but it's super good. Chamfer by smoothing groups or by hard edge. I don't know in your programs how it's called. The limitation of this one is that when you get some intersections, it won't look so good. If it's like this, it's fine, because when you apply Turbo Smooth, it looks pretty good. But then you also have to do some cleanup, as you can see. So let's do it. And I think something like this could work. For now, we'll keep it like this. Maybe later, if you got time, you can bring it into ZBrush and sculpt some wells in here, which I think would look really cool. Yeah. So the body. About this one, I'm not super sure if going into ZBrush or not, because this part here, if you look like here, it has this seam, which is like the two parts are joined together. And the problem is pretty much this. Let's say I add the cut in here, like this. When taking into ZBrush and using the polish, it will probably smooth out so much, it will read like super bad. That's the main thing I don't like about the ZBrush polish workflow. So I think we could just go that standard modeling with sub D, but it will take quite some time, so I guess we're just gonna ignore the internal parts, because yeah, we're gonna never see that. So first thing, I would add some edges in here. Let me broke the normal weights, because it's a pain to work with that. The biggest problem with this part is that it's not symmetrical. That's the pain of this one. And by the way, I also got my references on the side, so I think it should be always good to have a look at them. So you got any question, guys? I guess not. I think we're gonna add like, oh, thanks, man. We should add like an edge in here. Yeah, definitely. Like this.
So maybe could you tell that why you use weighted normals over
Oh yeah, sure.
standard ones, and maybe some advantages of it, and how do you approach it?
So pretty much weighted normals, you use it to give a better shading to your asset, because this is how it would look with the standard shading of 3dsMax. You know, it's super distorted. Weighted normals, you can find couple of images online which explain it very nicely, and pretty much it reads the chamfer and it gives it a better smoothing pretty much. So that's why it looks like this, you know. And yeah, that's pretty much why. Just give it a better shading, and so it will look already better on the low poly. Which also, if it would look like this, probably the normal map baked from the high poly would fix it. But anyway, I think it's good to have already a good shading on the low poly. Yeah, pretty much that's the main reason.
There's quite a lot of information online about it because Creative Assembly, when they made Alien Isolation, primarily used weighted normals on most of the models that they did.
Yeah, exactly.
Highlight textures. So that's a really good way of. There's a lot of articles on
I
poly
think,
count
let me
stuff.
see. There are a couple of images which explain it perfectly. Let me see. This one, I think. Like, this is the standard kind of shading. This is one, actually, this one is for 3D, included in 3dsMax. And this is the script I'm using, which gives a much better result. And you can see that it just looks better, you know. You could also just don't have a high poly in this case and just use the low poly if you give nice chamfers. Yeah, that's pretty much why. And I think it looks very nice on this one, because if you look at the references, the body's quite smooth, all the angles. It doesn't really has hard edges. Like, as you can see, all the curves are really smooth. So I think weighted normals in this case were just the perfect choice. So back to the high poly. This is the most annoying part, honestly. Like, I think we're gonna add a cut all over here, so it will smooth out a little bit better. And also, first, we have to make an inset. I don't know how it's called in Blender or Maya, when you extrude inside the polygons, like this. And then we don't need all these extra edges, so we just gonna delete them. I guess something like this. Yeah, looks already much better. The inside, we're gonna leave it like this, because if not, it will take like 1 hour only this piece, so would be too much. So I think we're gonna do the same thing I just did for the holes, just for this outer edge. So it's gonna support the subdivision and should look better. Let's see. Yeah, now we're gonna fix this part, but overall it's pretty good, I guess. Yeah, kinda. So now pretty much what we want to do is just give a nice high poly look, keep the edges as soft as we can. And yeah, pretty much that. It's gonna be quite boring, honestly, but It's gotta be done. Again, if you got any questions, feel free to ask, because I don't want to continue to talk alone. Oh, guys, I can't wait to finish the body because it's the most annoying part. Okay, I think it's not looking too bad. What do you say?
Actually looking good.
We got
I
still a
really
bit,
like it.
still some things to fix. Then I think we're gonna skip to the next part, and then at the end we fix this mess. 'Cause this part I just hate it, man. Also in the high poly, n-gons are fine as long as they don't give weird shading, you know? Here we got some weird stuff. Like here, I just did a cut and ended it here. It doesn't create weird shading in here, so that's fine. Here we need some support because as you can see, it kind of melts this part. And this part is gonna be quite tricky to get zero distortion, but let's see later. Oh yeah, and also a support edge along this part. I think we have to follow a bit like this, maybe. This one is a bit tricky because it has some curvature in here, but shouldn't be too bad like this. All right. This one's, we don't need them. Okay, say we skip to the next part, then we come back. We fix all this part. Some shading issues in here. The interior, we leave it like that. I don't care about that. So next one are these hooks. And I think I'm gonna use these two modifiers, the chamfer and the turbo smooth. Just copy them, paste them in here. And I think I have to reduce it quite a bit. When you have triangles, the chamfer gives weird results, so usually better have just an angle instead of a triangle. And I think like this should be good. Yeah, something like this. The next part is this one. Again, just chamfer, find the right amount, turbo smooth, and here we have to fix this part. I think just like this. Yeah. Yeah, just a cut like this works. And here, since we are losing quite some volume, I think we're gonna do the same thing we did on the low poly and add some edges. And I think we're gonna connect all this stuff and add a support edge because it was doing some weird stuff in there. Here, what's good? Oh, something fucked up here. So I think we're just gonna split it in the middle and add a symmetry. All right, also this part is done. Then the chamber. This part, I think we would get quite some distortion with both subdivision modeling with the chamfer or whatever. So I think we're gonna use ZBrush with this one. So how I handle ZBrush, I don't know if it's the right way, but I throw a turbo smooth and I separate by smoothing groups. I don't know it's called in the other programs, probably by hard edge or something. And add a couple subdivisions. I look around if there are some weird stuff going on, which seems fine to me. And then what I do is just export this part as an OBJ. So export selected. Here, I probably create a new folder for the ZBrush parts. Chamber, usually call it base, so I know that's the part that still needs to go into ZBrush. Also rename this one. Then let's open up ZBrush. Honestly, I don't know pretty much nothing about ZBrush, so if you see something that I should do in another way, just let me know, because, yeah, I just know a couple of things of this program.
Actually, there is
Mm.
a different techniques in ZBrush, but I will explain to you later because it's a little bit long.
Okay, cool. Sure, thanks. It's not here. Wait a second. All right, I exported the part as an FBX, and I have to export an OBJ. So, all right. So I import the piece. Just drag it, press Shift to lock it, edit. I like to constrain everything to the y-axis, so it rotates like I want to. Then geometry, Dynamesh. Here it's like just try out some values and see what works best. If it doesn't work nicely, you see it right away because the edges look just bad. I usually just start with 1024, which didn't put it in. I don't think it did that. Or maybe it did. I think it did. And then if you go to deformation, polish, you have to check this little thing. So it smooths out the edges. And also here you just try. And you can see it smooths out super nicely. Like this, it's super hard edge. So we're gonna go a bit more. Still quite hard. So you can push it quite a bit. It will just benefit the normal. Yeah, we can go quite further.
Hey Joe, can I ask something?
Yeah, sure.
This polish is based on the hard edges?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
that's why in 3dsMax, I applied the turbo smooth, and down here, I separated by smoothing groups, which are pretty much
Okay.
my hard edges. And I
Sure.
don't know if there are smoothing groups in Blender, which you
Yeah,
can
I
see.
know.
Yeah, it keeps the hard edges, and you have some geometry too, like this.
So you don't use the Dynamesh to do it, right?
I did also Dynamesh before, which
Okay,
honestly,
perfect.
I don't know what that is used for, but I just know they teach me that workflow, so I do that. And yeah,
Okay, great. Thank you, man.
yeah. Actually, if you know other way to do this, just let me know, because I always want to learn something more of ZBrush and not stick always to my usual stuff. The cool thing about Polish that you can go step by step, you know, like it's the 5th time I'm applying it till I like it. And I think something like this will probably look pretty good. Maybe slightly more. Yeah, I think like this it will work. Then just export. I just call it done. We can close ZBrush. Now we can import the new mesh. And now the new mesh will be quite heavy, I suppose. Like every time it's quite heavy. So yeah, it's 2 million polys. So what I usually do is convert it to the editable poly. I don't know if there's such thing also in Blender and Maya, honestly. And then I use this Pro Optimizer modifier, which helps a lot to optimize the mesh. You let it calculate, which gonna take, I think, a little bit. I hope not that much. And then you just input the percentage of how many vertices you want from the original mesh, and it works super nicely. I think there is something similar in Blender and Maya, just not sure how they're called.
I use this image from ZBrush for this step.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Zero Mesher, you mean?
No, this image.
No, sorry, I didn't understand. Can you
This
repeat?
image from ZBrush. If you open your ZBrush, the file that you're using, I can show you.
Okay, I think we're gonna use it for another piece, so then you can tell me.
Okay, perfect. I will be there.
I think I'm gonna put like 4%. You can see the geometry is like shit, but it looks good, so that's what matters. And bam, I collapse it, and this piece is done. It looks super clean, so it works. Then next piece is the hammer. So let's see. I think we're gonna go again with the chamfer modifier on this one, but I think we're gonna get some distortion on this one right here, because this spot right here and this one are quite tricky, honestly. Let me see, with some super edges maybe. Maybe like this, it will help. Not that much. Yeah, these spots are quite tricky. Probably can have something like this. Maybe. I don't want to bring this piece into ZBrush because if you look at the references, there is this kind of a cut, which I think is left over by when it's being produced, this piece. You can see. And if I already make it in geometry, I think when I'm gonna polish the whole model, it will look just pretty bad. So that's why I would like to keep it all in Max. But I think we're gonna have to sacrifice some distortion. Let's see. Here is also a matter of trying. I'm certainly not a sub-D pro, so if you have any suggestions, feel free to say. Something like this. Well, it doesn't look too bad. This spot right here is pretty shitty, but here I think there's gonna be an extrusion. So let's make it. Something like this. Just take the edge, extrude it in. And I believe there also is an extrusion like along this part. So maybe not so intense, but something like that. Yeah. Something like this. Then let's add that thing I was talking before, which is around here actually. Yep. So same thing, edge extrusion, just this time we go out like this. Maybe like this is too much. What do you say?
I think you little bit big right now, actually. Yeah.
What, sorry? Too big?
Yeah, I think it's big, but I'm
I
not
think
sure.
that too, actually.
It needs to be readable in game anyway, so bigger is better than too small.
Yeah.
Maybe I could make it slightly like this and give it a bit of a chamfer. Maybe. Oh shit. Well, something like this should work. Yeah. Let's just fix this thing by something like this, I think. Yeah, easy. Just a cut. One here and one here. Yeah. Well, it doesn't look too bad. These things are pretty shitty, but for now, let's keep it. Then we'll see. Yeah. Let's move on to the next one, which is this one. Again, I think quad chamfer and turbo smooth. Something like this. Yeah, should be pretty good. Then there is this one. Really nothing to do with this one. This piece, again, chamfer. Just change the values. Something like this, I guess. Yeah. This one, I think we're gonna bring it into ZBrush. Yeah, it's just faster, because if I apply the modifiers, there's just a lot of cleanup. So I think we're just gonna bring it into ZBrush. I just have to fix the smoothing groups, hard edges, I don't know how you want to call them. Yeah, and again, we bring it to ZBrush. So you can tell me what you were saying before. You were Marcos, right? You were saying about ZBrush.
Yeah, go to the ZBrush and do the smoothing ads. I will show you the dismage.
So this one. Mhm. So bam. Again, Dynamesh. The edges look good. So from here, usually you just go again with polish, right?
Yep.
Easy, bam. We can push it quite a lot more. Still a little bit. Think like this could work, maybe slightly more. Yeah, something like this. So, go ahead, Marcos.
Okay, you need to go on the top menu in Z plugin on the top right. Yep. Decimation master. It's in the middle of the scroll.
Oh yeah.
You can do pre-process current. Yeah, no. First, you need to do pre-process. Yep. Okay, it's an analyzing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I used it once. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's very good.
Let's see how much it takes, because my computer is definitely not that good.
No, but the long process is just the pre-process. After this, it's all good.
Oh, 30%. Fuck. Yeah, it's slow. Super slow. Fuck.
Yeah, maybe the ProBoolean or Pro-Optimize of Max is more faster. Because when I do this, I do in all piece that I have. So I just do it and go do another thing, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think if I start, oh no, maybe it doesn't lag. Yeah, we can continue on something else. Well, this one, again, chamfer and turbo smooth, super easy. Like this. This one, same. Okay, it did it. And now I guess I have to tell it
Yeah,
the
you
percentage,
just
right?
go, yeah, you choose the percentage of decimation and just click below decimate current. Okay, you
Wow.
can press Shift F to look how this looks.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. I'm gonna use
Uh,
this all the
You're
time
welcome.
now. Well, perfect. So let's re-export it. Site done. Nope. And let's re-import it. Oh yeah, that's perfect. You don't know how many times Max crashed me because it was a too heavy mesh. That's super cool. So it's already looking much better. So the spring, when you have these kind of parts, I usually never add anything, because if I add a turbo smooth, it loses quite some volume. So when you're going to bake, it just looks bad, you know? You're gonna get those kind of black edges, which just look bad. So leave it like this and bake it down. Trigger, let's do the trigger mechanism, which is just like this. little distortion here, so I think with one cut we can fix it. Like this. Yeah. Then we got the trigger. After the trigger, we fix a bit this part. And then if you still have some time you want, I would go ahead to sculpt some welds in here and maybe some metal damages to the body too. Well, let's see. So I think we have too many triangles in here, so let's do something like this. Okay, I think we keep it like this. This is a kind of a rivet, I think. Like it has always this inset, so let's already make that. Something like this. And let's give it some smoothing groups. I probably got yeah, something like this. Okay, this one looks pretty good. And now we have to go back to the body, fix all this part, and then we gotta add some floaters to the body, like these parts, all these little parts, but should be pretty quick. Yeah, so let's go quickly through this side right here. So I think we're gonna select all these sides and inset the polygons. First, let me do this. Here it's gonna cause quite some problems, but let's see later. Okay, something like this. Yeah, something like this. Now we gotta do some cleanup, but it's not too bad, I think. So, yeah, non-symmetrical parts, I just hate them. Jesus. Here we gotta take care of that distortion. So, these things are, for me, are more trying stuff and see if it works. Because, yeah, and after you make some experience, I think you know what you should do?
Actually, this kind of poly, how can I say? I will skip in the Max and use ZBrush, I guess.
Yeah, I would that too. The only problem is that there is this, where is it? This kind of seam that I think it would just fade out in ZBrush. I was thinking that we could maybe sculpt it directly in ZBrush, but I don't know how it would turn out. So that's why I wanted to keep it all inside Max. But I think we're almost done. Let me just clean up this part, and then I would call it done. It's not perfect, but I think we spent enough time on this thing already. So wow, this is just a super mess. Jesus. I guess we're gonna remove this part because it's just and maybe we can just chamfer the whole edge here. Tiny chamfer. Maybe. Because these edges are so close, they're kinda weird. Do something like this, maybe. So you have some more space between the edges. It's not super accurate, but instead of having that hard edge, I think it's better to do this. And maybe let me quickly cut through this. It's not right to do it manually like this, but it should work. Quick and dirty, but should do the work. All right, yeah, it's not too bad. Here we got some weird stuff here too. Oh yeah, just some connections. And here what's going on? Well, I guess this part we're just gonna smooth it out a little bit in ZBrush when you're gonna sculpt some details. And I would call this one done. Yeah. It's not perfect, but it should work. So now I would add this seam, which the weird thing is it doesn't seem to be perfectly centered, like it's a bit to the side. So I think I'm gonna keep that in mind. So I'm gonna slice the whole model, something like this. And I think I'm gonna have it like this, not so centered. And again, just extrude the edges. And let's see how it looks. Not too bad. And I think we are pretty much done with the body. Yeah, there are things to fix yet, but I think that's boring enough, this part. So we could just continue with that. So a couple of more things we could do with the body is adding all these kind of details, which should be pretty quick, just as floaters, you know. So little cylinders like this. And yeah, obviously remember to name them like the body, so they will bake down, but I believe you already know that. Something like this, but just a bit more subtle, I guess. Something like this, just a bit smaller. Yeah. I think I'm gonna put symmetry, because there should be also on the other side. So let's make it symmetrical. And there are two more of these, one here and one here. Yep. Like this. Then there are two things, like I think they are rivets or something. Like this, I think. Not so much out, maybe like this. Yeah, after this, adding a couple more details, I think we can do some basic sculpting, which will be done with some brushes I already have like quite some time. I think I bought them on ArtStation or something, which are super good, by the way. Maybe if you like them, I can link them. And then I think we should be done with that poly. Yeah, something like this. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, looks alright.
Yeah, looking good. I really like it.
Probably no
It's
symmetry.
perfect, actually.
Yeah, not perfect, but it's decent. Yeah. I think something that helps usually, gonna put a floater that makes it seem like there is a hole behind here, so it doesn't just get into the surface like this. So real quick, just a plane like this. By the way, super weird working live. Like usually I procrastinate like so much. It's weird being so productive, you know?
You should go live all the time when working on stuff.
Yeah, probably.
Would be a good checkup, so you always stay
Yeah,
focus.
because I usually like work 1 hour and then stop, do a pause, max 1 hour, maybe less. I don't know. It's super weird working so much.
I'm pretty happy that I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
You're really not, don't worry.
True.
That's one of the reasons I was worried about on Decagon the other day when they were on about the new Clockify taking screenshots. It's like,
Oh yeah. Well, can you imagine Taylor taking screenshot at 50 people? Lol. That's
Yeah.
I don't think so.
me neither.
I think Clinton would be looking at our screens all the time. Think something like this will work pretty much. Yeah, something like this.
Yeah, this should do it, I guess.
Yeah, because it's already an hour and a half we're going, so I don't want to also keep you here too much. Let's go towards the end. Something like this, yeah. Last thing I would like to add is this kind of extrusion. So yeah, something like this. Same in here.
If I can add one thing, I always look at the materials when doing the high poly, so I can bake out a nice ID map, which makes it pretty easier to kind of mask out floaters or screws, for example. So I don't know if you already did this, but if not, I can do it in the UV or baking part then.
Usually I don't do that. Like I mask manually when I start to set up my painter scene. So since I'm gonna texture also this one, I don't think I'm gonna do that. But the problem is that
I will bake one for you. So
okay, great. The fact is I don't really like ID maps because they always leave that like edge a bit
I know
area.
what you mean. Yeah, I
Yeah, I don't know
got a
how to
fix for
say it.
that. I got a
Like
fix for that.
I think you can blur a bit the mask and fix it. I don't know. Maybe because I bake in Painter.
Maybe,
If
yeah.
I baked in, maybe.
Now you said it.
I said it. I bake in Painter and I like it. Yeah, actually, do you guys bake in Painter or in Toolbag?
I am
Toolbag for me. I found it a lot
using
easier.
Toolbag. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one nowadays that bakes in Painter.
No,
Or
you're not the only
we need to
one.
convert him.
I think you're right. I actually went for a job at Splash Damage in London. What year is it? Yeah, this year, earlier this year, and they only use Substance for baking, which I was quite surprised at.
That's where I want to go then. I don't know. I maybe baked once in Toolbag, which is cool, but I
Very
don't know
easy,
why
by
I
the way.
like to bake in the same program I texture. I'm weird. I don't know.
It's
Okay.
always what you're used to, I guess.
Yeah, but one day I'll change, maybe. All right, I think the eye polish should be done. Looks pretty good, I think. What
Yeah.
I would like to do really quickly is sculpt some welds and maybe some metal damage. And also on these ones, if you have time, let me know. We can stop here or do some sculpting. I don't know.
Sure. For me,
I'm
this
fine,
all right.
Yeah, yeah.
So for sculpting, I don't know pretty much nothing about that. I usually prepare like this, the mesh. I just try to have some parts where I want to sculpt more dense, so that when I divide it in ZBrush, I have some more geometry in there. I don't know if that's the right way, but that's how I do it. Like usually subdivided like this, and then give another subdivision in ZBrush. I don't think that's the right way, but let me know what you guys do actually. So actually, how was the tool in ZBrush called to transform all the polygons into quads? Serie Mesher is that one?
Yeah, it is called Serie Mesh.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, thanks. Because I usually never knew about that. So when I sculpt, I just added so many subdivision, it became quite crazy.
It is pretty good.
So let me try that real quick. No. Barrel. I guess it's here, right?
Yeah.
Just like this, I guess. Come on. Okay. Whoa, that's weird. Okay. So I got here the brushes I want to use. They are not mine, but are super good. Later I'll send you the link. But I think like our $2 or $3 are the most famous pretty much. And they are super good. Like, look at this. Maybe one more. Maybe it's too much like this. I don't know. Well, I think it will look pretty good. I don't know why it's sculpting on the inside.
I know it.
Well,
So-
fuck it. We keep it like that.
Okay. Yeah. It
Can't do it.
just for your information, you go on brush. No,
Yeah.
on go up on the left side. There is next to alpha.
Oh,
There's
okay.
brush, and then you go to auto masking
Da, 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 da,
on the
da.
modifiers. Auto masking. Scroll a bit down, and there is backface mask. You need to turn that on. So it's
Oh, all right.
then it's not working on the back faces.
Should be still on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is at all. Yeah.
Oh.
Should be, no. So it shouldn't be like inside. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's cool. Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
So let me go quickly through this. And then I would also like to add a kind of cutted metal to the side. I'll show you the brush, which is usually used on tanks. Now you're gonna see which one. Oh, come A bit weird, but that's fine. Cutted metal, this one right here, because in some references it looked like it had some kind of weird shading, like this. It looked like it was kind of cutted, you know, see? And maybe this brush, maybe it's too intense. It's also activates symmetry, actually. Something like this, maybe? Or is it too much? What do you say?
I think it's good.
Yeah, it looks good.
Just super quickly. Okay, and let me just destination. Okay. Then we could sculpt some metal damages on this one. And finally, I think I could sculpt some kind of edgeware on this one, because if you look at the references, those cylinders are always super deformed. So I think making into the eye poly would look pretty good. And then after that, I think that's it. Yeah, I think so. So let me take this one and export it in the meantime. I think it's gonna take quite some time, this one, huh? Yeah, it's gonna take a little bit. So in the meantime, I export also this one. Yeah. Honestly, I can't wait to texture this one, because the textures look super dope. Like this shiny metal. Actually, which one should I go for? Let me know, because I would like to study it a little bit before going live. And I was unsure if going for this one or more shiny, like this one.
I think
Which one would you
top
like
right,
to see?
I guess.
What?
Top right is looking good, I guess.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
this one
brighter
looks
one is.
good.
I think it is harder to nail. Like the dark one is, yeah, pretty straightforward. And I think with the brighter one, you have to play a lot more with the values and
Yeah,
really
I think
nail the
that.
base colors and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I think this shiny one, it's pretty tricky to get right. Like you have to go back and forth quite a bit, but could look dope actually. Yeah, well, we'll see. But this one is super cool, like ton of color variation and stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's see. Come on.
Sometimes decimation it's not calculating. If it's happened, press escape and do it again, and it's solve your problem.
No, I think it's calculating.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
right now
taking
it's
quite some
working.
time
Yeah, yeah.
because it's super heavy. It's almost like 10 million polygons. I think that's why. Let's wait a couple, like 1 minute, and let's see. Should be almost done, I think. Oh yeah. So I think 10%. Already done. Wow, cool. Nope. Let's re-import it super quickly. Oh, I saved it here. Yeah. It looks pretty good. I did a little shit in here, but that's fine. Okay, let's do quickly also the body in ZBrush. But overall, I think it looks pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, looking
So
very
I think
realistic.
the next couple. Oh, sorry, go.
Yeah, no problem. Looking very realistic actually.
Yeah, the only part I'm pretty pissed off is this one. Oh, sorry. This one right here, which is not like the real one. It's a bit of a mix of multiple parts, but that's fine, I guess. Where is it? What is this? I think I'm gonna divide it. Usually, I also smooth out a little bit on the deformation, but I don't know if it will work that well because the geometry like super dense. So I think it won't even smooth out the geometry. Yeah, pretty much no effect. So we're gonna keep those things. Fuck. Let me import these brushes. These one are super cool. I don't remember where I bought them. I think on ArtStation on the marketplace. But looks super cool. So let me quickly show you. Not good, huh? Fuck.
You can press Ctrl N to resolve this.
Ctrl M.
N
Oh,
of
that's cool.
Navy.
Super buggy. Okay, should be good. So these brushes, there was one which was perfect. Like not this one. I think this one. Because if you have a look at the references, kind of has all this kind of hammered metal. I don't know how to call it, but it has all these points and stuff, which would be cool, I think, to add into the high poly. Not so intense, maybe, but maybe like this.
We
Little.
can also add this on Substance, right?
Yeah, that's true. But I wanted to try. That's why, pretty much. I think. Well, honestly, I should. No, fuck it. We add it just in Substance because I have to remesh it, Serie mesh it, and all. We spend the other 20 minutes. So we just add it in Substance, I guess. But maybe we can still sculpt these pieces. Let me try real quick. Last pieces, and then I think we're done with this one. And then in the next couple of days, I think Chris is gonna go through the unwrapping and baking.
Yeah.
I don't know
So
when.
I will
Yeah,
do the
sounds good.
UVs and then bake in Marmoset and show you what I take care of and how I'm working.
Yes, sir. So there is this brush, which I think it's called trim brush or something. Let me see. Brush. Which I used once for sculpting wood, I think. Trim smooth, I think was. But should work quite nicely. Yeah, almost. To do something like this. Yeah, almost. But I think should look almost good. What do you say? Better with or without?
Actually, it's looking good. I really like it.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think it will be hard to recreate this edge where in
Yeah.
Substance. So I would go for it in ZBrush. It always beats like texturing it afterwards, in my opinion. But yeah, I like it.
Yeah. I don't like it too much. It's like a bit weird, but I don't know. I'm just going through really random. So let's see. Looks more like a rock, I guess. Maybe like this. Well, yeah, I stop it there. Let's do quickly this one. And then I think I'm gonna call it done, this eye poly. It's super cool. I think if I had to do low poly and high poly of this gun by myself, it would have took like 2 or 3 days, at least. Super weird to do it like in an evening.
This one is custom brush or this is default brush in ZBrush?
This is one of the defaults, but it's not a trim standard one. It's the trim smooth, which I heard a guy told me that it's better than the standard one. I don't know why, but looks pretty good, I think. He used it for sculpting wood, but I don't know. I think it could work also for this one. Maybe it looks more like a rock, but I don't know. Maybe adds up a little bit. It's still a super small piece, so even if it doesn't look perfect, I guess it will look
It will
okay.
be like 20 pixels in the texture, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess it will be fine also if it doesn't look perfect. Yeah. Like this. Okay, I'll stop it. Because if I don't stop, I just continue for 20 minutes. Let me export it. Yeah, looks pretty good actually. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I would say that we're done with this. Yeah. So guys, do you have any last questions or something?
Nothing that I can think of, but thanks for taking the time.
Yeah.
Thanks to you guys for taking the time and watching. I think it's not been the most exciting thing to watch, but it's stuff we go through every time. I think you know it. So
It's always kind of interesting how other people work and how they approach things differently, and it only can benefit from. Yeah, I only can benefit from that. So thank you so much, Giole. And I will move it on the next time with the UVs and the baking.